Everyone, I'm Chris Lanus, and my Stackathon project today is called Endemic. Pardon my voice as I try to work my way through this. Endemic is an application that uses the eBird and iNaturalist APIs to visualize biodiversity data. And the reason why I wanted to do this was in order to use the D3 library. D3 library allows us to visualize data in interesting ways. And I like the idea of, first of all, I'm a big birder, and I consider myself something of a naturalist, if you will. And I love the idea that when done properly, data visualization can help tell an interesting story. For example, if you might be aware of a bird called the California quail. It's a state bird of California. What we can do with this application is demonstrate the last 3,000 sightings of California quail. You'll notice that the colors indicate time reported in terms of when it was seen. You can also, interestingly, see, for example, how many were seen at a given sighting. So, for example, one person reported that there were 120 quail that they saw. That's sort of interesting. The other interesting thing we can do with this, for example, let's think of our friend, the American robin. We can see where those robins were seen throughout the state of Illinois. You can click on a county, for example, and take a look at where these robins are seen. Likewise, we can also talk about where these robins, or how many of them were seen at a given instance. This is sort of cool as well. You know what, I'm going to go back to my scatter plot and take a look at the Blackburnian warbler. If you're familiar at all with birds, you realize that we're in the throes of spring migration. And what's really great about this particular visualization is you can see migration happening. You'll notice that the Blackburnian warbler is moving northward, moving up latitude, which is our y-axis here. And you can see that there's a greater density more recently. So more people are seeing them more northward more recently, which is really neat. And then lastly, the last thing that we can do here, taking from the iNaturalist library, which looks at things beyond birds, we can see something called a tree map. The tree map, as you can see in a second, displays the top 100 species cited on iNaturalist over, in this case, throughout iNaturalist's existence. You can hover over and see that this is a hierarchical relationship. We see all of the teal space is, these are birds being seen or spotted. All of the yellow are mammals and reptiles. In fact, we have a key down here. We can also represent this data, with not just a tree map, but also with a sunburst. Similar kind of data representation, which is really neat. I wanted to learn how to use D3 in this project. I found that the biggest challenge was simply sort of learning the vocabulary of D3. There's a lot of, working with D3, there's a lot of higher order functions. Everything you're working with returns a function that you can use it later on. So it was just a little bit unusual getting used to. The other big challenge is every time you look at a graph, for example, you're pulling lots of data down from eBird and iNaturalist, and you get a lot of lag. I decided that that was okay, because I found that looking at more data is more interesting than looking at less data. But there we have it. What I hope that this app can do is inspire some people to realize that there's diversity around them, and hopefully inspire them to open their eyes and look around. So this is Endemic. Thank you. I don't know what I'm doing. OK, here we go.